Hello everybody, thanks a lot for joining me today. Here's what's up. We're going to be talking about a huge collection from Physicians Formula here. They put out the Ultimate Butter collection, and I had seen some pictures of this right when it came out or shortly before, I think it was. Might have been Trend Mood or somewhere teased that this was happening, and I thought I've got to try that and review it for, you know, holiday makeup. It's $39.99 and it's like every single butter product they make basically in this little box here, which isn't exactly tiny. I mean, it's pretty good size. Probably a little thicker than the What to Expect When You're Expecting book, and a little bit wider too. But when you start kind of pouring over everything that's inside, you realize what the value is here. I paid $39.99 for this off of the Physicians Formula website. But you know those two Butter Eyeshadow palettes that came out not all that long ago? If you add up the cost of those, it's around $36. And that in itself is almost the entire cost of this thing, where you're getting all the bronzers, all the blushes, all the highlights, the lipsticks in pans, and again, all the eyeshadows. And once you folded this puppy out to the bottom, there is a little mirror inside. Is this a travel product? Well, I don't know. How careful are you willing to be? Because these little plastic hinges here, I don't know if I've got a lot of confidence in them. I mean, I feel like I've seen things like that kind of easily break before. To me, I would say, considering that I do own certain products from their line, I've got a couple blushes, I've got a couple bronzers, some individual lip products, those might be travel items, and this might be like your whole database of Physicians Formula butter stuff that stays at home and sits on your vanity or your shelf or something. But here's how it opens. It is magnetized shut. You open it right up, and what you immediately see are the bronzers on the left. There are 8 of them, and all the eyeshadows on the right. I checked my palettes, and it's 100% the 2 palettes that they've put out already. And they leave really no question there because they have all the shade names on the back. So you can check the eyeshadows and you can see which shade is which. And you know, the bronzers, light bronzer, bronzer, sun-kissed bronzer, deep bronzer, sunset bronzer, Brazilian glow, endless summer, and sculpting bronzer. They're all there and they're all pointed out here on the back. These sides do have to fold into each other, and the only protection here is a clear sheet, kind of a flimsy sheet that's just taped down in 2 places. Honestly, as it stands right now, that clear sheet is actually shielding a lot. Like, I can see little specks that it's keeping, you know, out of my bronzers here from some of these deeper shades, some of the flakier shades. I've already gone through and swatched this stuff, and you know, there is a little bit of residue that kicks up. So what I'm trying to do is only lift up from the bottom so they still stay attached at the top. But it would be great if that would have been a plastic clear panel there that just like lifted up, right? Now, if you slide each of those sides out either direction, you're going to come to your highlighters, which are that creamy highlighter formula. Like, you touch them, you got creams in there, okay? You've got 1, 2, 6, 7 different highlights and 7 blushes as well. The full blush selection here was something I was really excited about because I've really been loving like Saucy Mauve and Copacabana, and you get both of those in here plus more. So that was exciting to see. Pull it out further on the right side, you've got the 12 butter lipsticks in here. They are in pans. We'll dig into this further before the end of the video. I'm not saying it's a different formula in here, but the way it's pressed in, it just kind of transfers off, comes off on your finger, applies to the lips in a more sheer way than it comes off of the sticks. The sticks, if you've tried the butter lipsticks, they are an intense, thick, rich swipe of color. And in just comparing the ones I have to what's in here, I'm like, okay, there's more intensity in the lipsticks. However, it seems every shade is accurate to the point that it can be built to look like the lipsticks look, but automatically, just with like a quick swipe of your finger in there or a lip brush, you're seeming to grab a sheerer, lighter amount of product. Now you pull this side out a little more, and what's left is the mirror in here, which is a legit mirror. If this were all sitting flat, you could definitely look right into it there. But the wingspan of product here, people, is crazy. This is so much stuff. So you see why, if we just look at the eyeshadows and we think about the fact that that's $36 worth of eyeshadow right there. For the whole palette, it's just a few dollars more. I mean, it's a pretty impressive value. And regardless of what you think of this particular collection, the Butter collection or whatever collection it might be that a brand is putting together, the fact that there is a palette that exists full of permanent products, I mean, think how rare this is. It makes me look at every brand and think like, CoverGirl, could you please put together a full palette of the Cheekers blushes? Or like Wet n Wild or Milani, can we see like a full book of your eyeshadows all together? Like, that's a really rare thing to have all this, and it's not like just some limited edition one-time collection. It's literally like all the bronzers they sell, all those blushes, and to have that kind of access, I think is really, really cool. Just talking quality, I have run into some bronzers I absolutely love, and they're both in here, the Endless Summer one and the Sculpting bronzer. Blushes I love, Saucy Mauve, Copacabana, but I'm excited to discover more here. The highlighters, it's a wider range than I've ever experimented with, so I'm excited to play. I think you do need to be a little careful with this creamy formula because it's so intense and it's so rich. I think it's very easy to lay down a lot, so I'm gonna have to watch myself on those. The eyeshadows, there have been some beautiful eyeshadows in this collection with, if you watch my review in the past, you know, some shades that are kind of flaky, kind of difficult to work with. Those are in there, but they're kind of the minority when you see all these shades together, and there's still some beautiful shimmers and mattes, and overall I think a really pleasing color scheme to look at. So right now I'm gonna just finish my face with everything that's in here because I've already got my foundation, concealer, and powder on, and also my brows are done, so we can just finish things off here. Looking at the bronzers, I think I'm gonna use a shade that I haven't really used that much of before. This color here is called the Deep Bronzer, so I think I'll go for that one. Your definite deepest, though, are at the bottom with Endless Summer and the Sculpting bronzer as well, which Sculpting seems to be like a Walmart exclusive shade, like I only ever see it there. So there's another reason why having this palette is cool, because they've really included it all. I need to measure out like the width of that palette all like completely stretched out. How many feet is that? See, that deep bronzer in itself is a really nice tone and texture. Yeah, I was so excited about the face products in here. And I like that they are labeled in the back so you can check. You can really see what you're working with. If you're one like me who does tutorials and you're like, I'm using physician formulas, whatever, people who just have singles can really check that and follow along. What's right next to that? Sun-Kissed bronzer. Let's use a little bit of this. It looks kind of peachy and light. I was swatching some textures like right up against one another. The bronzers I already own in full sizes against like those darkest two, you know, and they really seem the same. Completely. The only texture difference I was really able to note was with the lipsticks, like I mentioned. So I'm going to taking that lighter bronzer and just letting it go everywhere. Next we're going to go for the blushes, and I'm again going to try to go for a shade that I don't already have. That cool pink right there is calling my name, and that seems to be the shade called Rosy Pink. So I think I'm going to take some of that, and then I may also work in a little bit of Vintage Rose, which is right down here at the bottom. That's the biggest one, and it doesn't have any kind of like sheen in it, doesn't look like. So this is our light cool pink, and these squares are a little smaller than the bronzer ones, but it's very easy to stick your brush into it, nothing too small. Oh, and I'm reminded of the freshness of a nice cool pink like that. That's awesome. I'm so glad that shade is in here because a lot of the other colors have a good amount of warmth. I don't think I've ever seen this shade in a single Physicians Formula blush. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't been shopping in the right places. That is so fresh. I'm gonna let whatever's left on my brush just kind of carry throughout. And then, like I said, take a little bit of this shade in the bottom. That's called Vintage Rose. I have seen that in store before, I just haven't picked it up. And it's like a nice sort of toasty, warm color. Gosh, the brush is picking up a ton. Watch out. I may blend some of this just a little hair lower on the cheek. I just kind of want to see what it looks like. Ultra pigmented. I am so excited to play with these blushes more. And honestly, I would have been excited by just a spin-off just butter blush palette, you know what I'm saying? Butter blush and bronzer. That would have been cool as well. Now for the highlights, that is the panel that's coming just under your bronzers here. What do we want to do? I think I'm gonna try this lightest color right up here. There are two tones that look the same, but one white shifts kind of lilac-y pink, and this one's like a pure frosty white. I don't know, maybe let's try the lilac-y shift. That is called Iridescence. And I'm gonna go into that actually with a brush that I would normally use for cream highlighters. And get a little bit of that on there. Oh, it's applying nicely with that brush. Oh, this pinky lilac tone, very interesting. Was I too judgmental early on when these butter highlighters came out? Because this is actually super radiant and pretty. I'm getting those Casey Musgraves pink highlight vibes. I'm just buffing, like really lightly applying pressure. It doesn't feel tacky, but I mean, if you touch into it, you can tell that this is creamy. Oh, what a fun shade. Digging that. Now let's maybe take a little bit of the one underneath it. What's that one called? The one called Rose Gold right underneath. Picking up a little bit of that and maybe letting this come more up high. Gosh, that's heavy. Doing some of this more on the temple area. For my palette lovers out there, this is absolutely as fun as it looks. Yes, this is a blast. Now I think I'm going to do a little bit of setting spray. I've got this L'Oreal Shake and Glow Dew Mist handy. And we're going to move on to eyes. I'm going to do a little eye primer here with my Milani. I'm very happy with how the face has come together though. I've warmed up my skin with a couple different shades of bronzer because you can. I mean, use as many shades as you want. The blushes are gorgeous. Shades I've never even approached before from this line. I think I'm going to actually get a lot more enjoyment out of those highlighters than I was thinking I would. There's just a lot of variety, you know? Now we go over to our eyeshadows, and one thing to note, if you're trying to draw some comparisons to their two like freestanding eye palettes, things do seem a little bit like scrambled up in here. It seems to me in merging the two palettes, like this is just the configuration they came up with. Where to begin? I think I'm going to start with my crease today, and I'm going to go to this shade right over here, this nice little kind of yummy brown. Tap off your excess, everybody. And this is, did I say it's my Wayne Goss number 18 brush? I'm kind of subbing in because my other brushes are in my hospital bag. Just my usual brushes, my E25 and E40, E60, the ones I always use. So we got some fill-ins here. These mats are so nice. Oh, did I just lose the clear sheet? Oh, I was going to try to keep that stuck on there. I guess technically if I only have one clear sheet, I'm okay. Do a little blending on the outside with my little Milani blending brush. And maybe choose a highlight. We'll go with this light guy up here. And then I think I want to work with one of these kind of bluish tones. Let's go with the one that has a little more brightness. This is my e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush. And I'm just kind of adding this to the outer part of my lid. Personally, I think the mattes are my favorite that they're doing here in this Butter formula. The shimmer isn't bad, but there's a little more building that has to take place. Now going back to the crease, this is my Sigma Precision Firm Blender. It's called the E42, and I'm going to go into this kind of more smoky, deeper, kind of unique color, bluish charcoal, and maybe let that come into my crease near this blue. And if you're wondering, yes, I was tempted to go for the plums in this palette, but thought I'd offer a little different taste of what's going on here. Getting a little blue on my finger just to re-intensify real quick. Anytime you're blending in a deeper shade or a softer shade, and there is a color that you really want to pop, sometimes you have to go back in and add a little more. And that's not really saying anything about the quality of the product. It's just the process you've been going through has detensified something that was already there. It is interesting having those two butter palettes essentially combined into one big butter mega palette, because your mind is probably creating some combos that you wouldn't have even thought of if we were using each of them separately, right? I'm going to go to this shade here. This is one of the smoother shimmers. The chunkier shimmers are like this one, and these two right down here, they're just a little more fussy. But this shade, this kind of pearly color right in the heart of the palette, just more of a classic shimmer. And I just want something light to kind of come in and meet up with that blue. And then I'm thinking I want even more like kind of warmth coming out. So let's dip into our lovely terracotta here that's not fooling around. Again, these mattes, they are so nicely intense. And I'm going to take that up above our edge. I'm going to go with kind of this bright eye technique where you don't really do anything on the under part. See if I could reattach my little sheet. I don't know why like troll voice just took over there, but whatever. Now I'm just going to finish the eye with a little mascara and I'll come back for the lip. Got the mascara on, now we're moving over to the lip colors, and I think I'm going to use this shade down in the corner here called Carnival. And we're going to really like load up the lip brush with that because like I said, the butter lipsticks apply more intensely straight from their sticks than they do from this pan format. And I respect the fact that they're trying to give you like the entire butter collection here. It's not my personal preference really to use lip colors from a lip palette. I'm gonna sit this down. It's not the most practical thing to touch up. You gotta have your lip brush, you know. Well, I guess you don't have to have a lip brush, but you know, it helps. And it's fine for putting your whole look together at home, but like, I'm not gonna pop that thing in my purse in hopes of touching up with this throughout the day. So I get that that's not the most practical side of this, but they did succeed in making it like an all-inclusive butter situation, so good for them. But it's not all bad that these are kind of, you know, buildable lip products, because sometimes with certain shades especially, you may not want all the intensity that comes off of one of those sticks and all that shine. So you can kind of work up to that if you choose when you're using a lip brush with these products. But I love that shade. I hadn't tried that before. That's kind of fun. So all in all, this whole butter collection from Physicians Formula, it's been around for a while. You probably know by now if you've, you know, taken an interest in one thing or another along the line and whether or not it might interest you to have more. Personally, I'm just really excited to see a drugstore brand take their regular collection stuff and put it into kind of this all-access palette at a really fair price. I am excited to play with more of these face products, the different tones of bronzer in there. That whole blush collection is super exciting to me, and the highlights are exciting me more than I thought they would. You've again got all the eyeshadows, which is going to amount to a mostly neutral selection. Keep that in mind, but you do have warmer shades, cooler shades. There's one sort of problematic texture that only affects a few shades, but for the most part, those mattes in there are rich and buttery. The shimmers are pretty easy to work with too. I like this kind of sand and water look that I've got going on the eyes today. Maybe you have or have not tried the butter lipsticks, but they are a really creamy, shiny drugstore lipstick formula. They are kind of similar to the L'Oreal Color Riche shines that I love so much. In fact, I would say the Physicians Formula sticks themselves, if you buy them individually, they deposit even more like product and shine and thickness on your lips as you apply. Sometimes it's more than you want with certain shades, but you do get a whole bunch to play with in here. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was informative for you. Let me know if you're interested in this set or what you think if you've already picked it up. Again, I only saw it on Physicians Formula's website, but it wouldn't surprise me if it goes on to be available in other places as well. So just keep your eyes out. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.